The washing machine flooded, and the water, a lot of damage. Make or do? The washing machine flooded, and the water did a lot of damage. Perfect. So do damage. Remember it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the podcast. I'm Lewis, and this is another episode of British English Pod. And today, we've got a tricky topic, a topic that many people struggle with because they wonder, make or do? Which one should I use? And it's logical. It's understandable why people will have difficulty or struggle when deciding which one to use, because in many languages, I think even the majority of languages, you just have one verb. So if we think about Spanish, you have the verb hacer. It is translated to make and do. In French, the same thing happens. Faire. Make or do. You can translate it as both things. The same thing happens with Portuguese, with Italian as well. And I'd take quite an educated guess that this trend and this pattern will be repeated in many other languages as well. So I get it. I understand. I feel you. But we still have to get it right in English, because there is a big difference between using make and do. So in today's podcast, we're going to speak all about this difference and essentially give you lots of English listening practice so you can hear me using these collocations again and again whilst coming up with my own ideas and answers, so that hopefully the next time you're wondering, do I say make or do I say do? It'll just come naturally. Sometimes you don't need to know a rule. It just sounds right. And you think, well, I don't know why I said that, but it sounded right. And it was right. So that is my main aim of this podcast. So without further ado, let's get straight to the point. And first things first, I'll just tell you the very, very generic rules of make or do. Because most of the time we do need to memorize specific collocations. But the generic rules can, do you a favor as well. They can help you out. So when do we use make? Well, we use make when you create, produce, or cause something. Think of like producing something new. That could even be a reaction. It doesn't have to be something physical. I made a cake. She made a decision. They made a mistake. I made a phone call. I made a reservation. And so on and so forth. While, on the other hand, we use do when you perform a task, an action, or an activity. So think of actions of work or of general activities. You never ever say, I didn't make anything. Well, you might in some scenarios, but when speaking about things you do in your free time, like, what did you do yesterday? Nothing. I didn't do anything. I'm going to do something this evening. I don't know what, but I'm going to do something. We'll have a look at more examples, but essentially, make, you are producing, creating, or causing something to happen, and do, well, you are doing something. You're performing an action, a task, an activity. It's very generic, or it's work-related, housework-related, or also sport-related. So there you have some generic ways of maybe helping you to know which one to use. From there, we're going to use lots and lots of them in conversation. But in the meantime, whilst I'm getting my document ready to share it, don't forget to leave a like and follow for more, and leave a review of this podcast so more people can benefit from the pod. And I've got another question for you, because I've been considering making a change. I've been thinking about making a change to the videos I post on Wednesday to YouTube, because over the last 2 years, I've been posting different conversations with teachers from around the world, but mainly native English speakers. And I've got to the point where I've already interviewed everybody who wants to be interviewed. And I've started repeating some conversations with different teachers who I get on well with, or who simply want to be on the podcast with me. But now I'm at a bit of a crossroads where I'm thinking, shall I stop posting videos on Wednesdays? Maybe it's an option. Another option is to hopefully convince my lovely mother to be my co-host on a podcast, which I could also upload to Spotify, where we would discuss different things happening in the world, different topics. And to tell you the truth, this is my number one option at the moment. When I'm home over Christmas, I'm going to try to talk my mum into being my co-host on the podcast. Talk someone into doing something, by the way, means to persuade them, to convince them. So that's my number one option. I want to try and convince my mum to be my co-host, but she might not want to. It might be a little bit too much of a commitment for her. Even if I offer to pay her, she might say no because of other reasons. So that might be out of the question. We will see. And my third option that I was thinking about just last night, in fact, was to make my Wednesday videos or podcasts related to the news, where I would scan the news the day before recording and find 2, 3, 4, or even 5 interesting news stories that would be very, very fresh and relevant. And then I would explain what has happened whilst going over some words and phrases and discussing what's happening in the world. So that is my other option. So let me know in the comments, what should I do? If you normally watch or listen to the videos I post on Wednesdays, should I continue? And if I continue, should I really try to persuade my mum? And you guys can help with that if you write in the comments. Please, Julie, Lewis's mum, we want you to appear every single Wednesday. If she sees this overwhelming love and support, that might just convince her, persuade her to say, yeah, let's do it. And if not, the backup plan is the one that I mentioned, to do a little roundup of the news and record it on my own. So, yeah, that's my little dilemma at the moment. And I reckon I'll make a decision over the course of the next few weeks. So, let's see what happens. Anyway, without further ado, as I mentioned, let's get into some conversation questions with make and with do. So, here you can see that I'm now sharing my screen, and we'll begin with the first question. How often do you do your homework or study English? Nowadays, I don't do any homework. My homework is working. It is preparing classes. It is recording podcasts. It is editing videos. So in that case, I do my homework every single day. But when it comes to studying languages, I've mentioned before on the podcast that I've been a little bit demotivated when it comes to improving my languages recently because I just don't get round to doing it. I just don't find the time to do it. Maybe that'll change in the future, but for the time being, I don't study any other languages. It's a shame, but it's the truth. Question number 2. Do you usually make your bed in the morning? Ha ha ha. No, I never make my bed in the morning. I know I should. I know it would look good if I did it. It would make me come across as a very tidy and organized person, but when my alarm goes off in the morning, I jump out of bed, I come straight downstairs to have a coffee, go to the loo, and get ready for my class. So the moment I get out of bed in the morning, I then don't go back to bed until I go to sleep. So there's a nice expression here in English, which is out of sight, out of mind. And if I don't see that my bed hasn't been made, then I don't even think about it. I forget all about it because out of sight, out of mind. What about you? Are you one of these crazy people who makes their bed every single morning without fail? Let me know in the comments. Now, number 3, do you like to make a plan before going on holiday? Yeah, I'd say that I do like to make a plan, but a rough plan. I don't like everything to be planned to the hour, for every single day to be 100% organized. I like to know which country or city I'm visiting. I like to know where I'm staying. I like to know what restaurants or bars I can go to. I like to know if there are any interesting attractions that I could visit. But I'm not bothered about having a fixed plan from the morning to the evening every single day of my holiday, because in that case, it's not that relaxing. If everything is organized to the minute and to the hour, then I'm not really going to chill out, relax, and disconnect, because it might stress me out knowing that I have to stick to a plan. But overall, all in all, I do like to make a plan, a rough plan. Number 4, how often do you do the washing or cleaning at home? It's funny, I've just read this question and I've just remembered that as my fiance was leaving to go to the office this morning, she asked me, "Oh, Lewis, can you do the laundry today? Can you put a load on?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And now it's 3 o'clock, and I had completely forgotten. It had completely slipped my mind. So, thank you for the reminder, because now when I finish recording this podcast, I'm going to do the laundry. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Thanks for reminding me. And cleaning, well, I clean up after myself. When I'm cooking, I always do the dishes immediately after. When I have a shower, I try to, you know, clean everything. When I have a shave, I try to just, clean the sink and all of those things. But yeah, I'm not a clean freak. I don't mind if things aren't perfectly as they should be. And number 5, do you make a shopping list before going to the supermarket? No, I don't. I never make a shopping list because when I go to the supermarket, I'm not sure what I want to buy. And that depends on how much things cost. So I'll have a look at the different meat, fish, carbohydrates, fruit, vegetables, dairy products, and I'll be constantly having a look at how much each thing costs to see if I can get some interesting bargains. And that way I can have more food for longer for a cheaper amount of money. And I rarely stick to specific recipes. So I know if you want to make a specific recipe, it would be in your interest to make a shopping list. But because I just mix it up and make random things every time I'm going to cook, I don't make a shopping list. Good. There we have the first 5 questions. We had do your homework, make your bed, make a plan, do the washing or cleaning, and make a shopping list. How about we move on to the next section, the next 5 questions? And they're related to personal experience and opinions. So, question number 6. Can you tell me about a time you made a mistake? Yes, I make quite a lot of mistakes, to be honest. Sometimes I make mistakes when I'm editing videos. I make mistakes when I'm speaking to people and I don't remember what they told me. But one mistake I made, which maybe I shouldn't tell you about, but I'm going to anyway, is with a partnership that I'm going to do with somebody who's going to help me to create an application. I think I made a little bit of a mistake in the negotiating phase because I showed how inexperienced I am when it comes to negotiating, where maybe I could have managed the negotiation in a better way to get a higher percentage for myself. So I made a bit of a mistake in perhaps getting too excited or rushing into a decision before really considering all aspects and having a proper negotiation. But it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. It's no big deal. But I did think 1 week later, maybe I made a mistake there. Maybe I could have handled it better. But it's no biggie. It's no big deal. Number 7. Have you ever done a favor for someone unexpectedly? I can't think of any examples. I'd like to say yes, I have done someone a favor unexpectedly. But honestly, I don't remember. Have you ever done someone a favor unexpectedly? The last time I did someone a favor was probably when my friends were moving house and I helped to carry all of their boxes and furniture, and it was exhausting. I was sweating so much. So, yeah, in that case, I did them a favor because they didn't pay me or give me anything in exchange. But I felt good. I felt like I had been very helpful and I had helped them out. So that's the last time I did someone a favor. Number 8. What's the best thing you've ever made yourself? And this is referring to like food or drink. And the best thing that I've ever made myself, I think, would probably be lasagna. I'm not Italian, I know, but I make a mean lasagna. That means like a tasty one, a delicious lasagna. It's true, it's true. My lasagna is, oh, to die for. It is, oh, delicious. It is, oh, amazing. So I kind of fancy making it again. Maybe this weekend I'll make myself some lasagna because it's one of these very comforting and satisfying dishes that they never get tiring. They never get boring. I could always murder a lasagna. Here, murder means, to eat. It doesn't mean kill anybody, I promise. Now, number 9. Have you ever done anything embarrassing in public? I'd say that I do a lot of embarrassing things in public. When I'm recording videos in the street, I don't care that much, but sometimes people will look at me and they must think that I'm a weirdo. They must think that I'm so strange. because I'm recording myself saying 5 phrasal verbs. And I do this like every single week now, of course. You know that. And it is quite embarrassing. But as I get older, I care less and less about what people think. So it's not too serious. And number 10, what's the most important decision you've ever made? The most important decision I've ever made is to move to Spain, to be honest, because I moved to Spain as soon as I graduated and as soon as I left the University of Liverpool. And I didn't hesitate too much. I didn't really think anything of it. But if I hadn't moved to Spain, my life would be so different because I wouldn't have continued in a relationship with my now fiance. So anything could have happened. I could have ended up in different countries or different cities doing different things. So for that reason, the most important decision I've ever made is moving to Seville. Yeah, I think so. I'm so cute, aren't I? Now, next section, hypothetical or future scenarios. So number 11, if you could make a change in your city, what would it be? Now, I'm going to tell you about Leeds, about my home city, and I reckon if I could make a change in my city, I would try to make it greener. And I think the same argument could apply to countless cities around the world because Leeds is close to national parks and big nature reserves. It's close to the Yorkshire Dales, which is an area full of natural beauty. But when you're walking around the city of Leeds in the city centre, in my opinion, there aren't enough parks. There should be more parks, more trees, more open green spaces. So if I were the mayor of Leeds, I would maybe build fewer apartment blocks and, leave some space for parks and make the city a little bit more extensive and bigger so that you could fit in more parks, more forests, and that way I think it would provide a higher quality of life. Number 12, what would you do if you won £1,000,000? I reckon I've mentioned this one before, but if I won £1,000,000, I would travel a lot. I'd travel around the world. I'd invest in property or just stocks. And money makes money. So the more money you have, the more money you can make. So if I had £1,000,000, I'd be very sensible about it and I'd make sure I put it in some good investments. Yeah, because some people who win the lottery, they'll end up blowing all their money in a year, 2 years, 5 years, and then they become unhappy. So I'd try to trick my brain and tell myself that I haven't actually won any money. I've just gained some assets in the form of flats, for example, that I could rent out and gain some more passive income. So that's what I do. A bit of traveling, invest in property, invest in the stock market, and allow my money to accumulate more money. Number 13, if you had a free day tomorrow, what would you do? If I had a day off tomorrow, if I had a free day tomorrow, I would. What would I do? I would. It might sound a little bit sad, a bit strange, but usually when I've got the day off, I kind of like working. I like recording these podcasts. I like editing videos. I like recording other videos because it gives me this mental peace when I schedule the podcasts and I know, oh, wow, I've done them all for the next few months. And when I get ahead with my content in this way, it makes me feel so much better. It relieves my stress, calms me down, and makes me think, ah, I don't need to worry about anything in the near future. You're going to think I'm a workaholic, aren't you? You're going to think I'm crazy. And you might be correct. You might be right. Now, number 14. If you could make a wish, what would it be? If I could make a wish, I would wish that myself and my loved ones would be happy and healthy and free of illness or disease until we're 100 years old. Because at the end of the day, health is the most important thing you can have. And as soon as you don't have good health, everything else in your life suffers. So I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. I panic whenever I have any kind of symptoms of illnesses. So the only real wish I could make is to be happy and healthy, and that my loved ones share the same fortune as me. Yeah, that's what I'd say. And number 15, what would you do if you were invisible for a day? If I were invisible for a day, I would. Yeah, I would. I would rob a bank. I, I would rob a bank to begin the day, take lots and lots of money. So then it's basically like I have won the lottery. Then maybe I'd go to some famous or interesting people's houses or workplaces just to be like a fly on the wall. This is an expression which means like to observe other people without actually doing anything, without interrupting them. So if you are like a fly on the wall, it's like having a fly on your wall and just seeing what people do. So I'd rob a bank, get rich, and then observe people. Who I would observe, and in what moments I would observe, well, that I think I'll keep to myself. Okay, now 10 more questions. Now related to work and study. 16. What tasks do you usually do at work or school? Well, in my job at work, I often edit videos, record videos, prepare lesson plans, prepare podcasts, teach lots of classes as well. I think I teach an average of 25 hours per week. So it's still quite a substantial amount. Luckily, since artificial intelligence exists, lesson planning is much easier than it used to be. And I'm grateful for the fact that in previous years, I made so many PowerPoints of lesson plans that I can just almost keep repeating them. So I thank my past self for doing that and keeping hold of these PowerPoints as well. Number 17 is make a mistake again, so we'll skip that one. And let's move on to number 18. How often do you do research before writing something? So the phrase is to do research, to investigate, basically. And I don't write anything. The only things I write are text messages or emails. And my emails are so concise and straight to the point that I don't waffle on and beat around the bush. No, 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 no. I will cut to the chase, get to the point, and keep all of my emails as informal as possible. So my emails are practically the same as my WhatsApp messages. So I don't write a lot. Consequently, I don't do a lot of research. Number 19. Have you ever made a suggestion that improved a project? Again, in my previous job, when I worked at Teachify, I'd go for walks. And when I'd go for a walk, that would be the moment when I'd start thinking and my brain would start moving. And if I'm thinking about something related to a project or work, then I'd suggest it to my boss. I'd make a suggestion to my boss. And I'd be like, hey, how about we do this? Or, oh, what if we did the other thing? So, yeah, I've made a lot of suggestions with my previous employer, and I think quite a lot of them were successful. A lot of them made a difference. Like my first ever suggestion, in fact, when I joined my previous company, was to make a podcast. And in the early days, the podcast was just like what I'm doing now, me speaking, but recording the podcast on my phone and then just uploading it to a Google Classroom application where students would have access so they could listen to my voice. Now, look at how much easier it is to do the same thing. So things have come a long way. Things have progressed massively. Now, number 20, we have make a plan once again. So we'll skip that and let's move on to the fun and social questions. Number 21, have you ever made a joke that went really well? The kind of jokes I make are dad jokes, terrible jokes, really, really cheesy jokes. So they never go that well. I think when people laugh at my jokes, they're just being kind. They're just being nice to kind of be like, ha ha ha, that's not funny, Lewis, but good try. So now I don't think I'm the funniest person. I just think I'm average at so many things. So I've never made a joke that had people absolutely laughing out loud. I hope that day arrives one day, but so far, I don't think it's happened. Now, we'll skip number 22 and move to number 23. And it is, have you ever made friends while traveling? Yes. I remember while traveling in Malaysia, we were in Penang Island, which is a lovely kind of tropical island at the north of Malaysia, basically next to the border with Thailand. This was during the World Cup in 2018, which was in Russia. Strange how things change, but hey. And England were playing against, who was it? I think we were playing against Colombia, actually. And we went out to watch the match. And whilst we were out watching the match, I was, of course, wearing an England top. And I was being a little bit of a typical English hooligan almost. I mean, like, England! England! No, 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 no. You get the idea. I don't need to continue. But I was being this kind of typical English hooligan watching football, and I was cheering on the team, and all the other people were just from other countries. Some were European, a lot were local, others were from other Asian countries. And there was one other English guy, and he was also being a bit of a hooligan. So he joined in and started singing along with me. So when we scored a goal, when we defended against a strong attack, we were like next to each other. I had my arm round his shoulder. We were both like, England! England! And then from that moment, we stayed out after the match and we met up the next day as well, just, to have a good time. And this is an example of me making friends while traveling. And what brought us together was, of course, football. It's true that football does unite people. I know there'll be many people who are listening right now who don't care at all about football. And fair enough. Everybody's different, each to their own. But I believe that football does bring people together. It unites people. So yeah, that's when I made friends on holiday while traveling. Now, that part of the podcast kind of went on for longer than I expected. And some of these questions were very generic. They weren't going over specific make or do collocations that much. Not as much as I would have liked. So, I'm going to share my screen once again, and this time it's more of a test. So if you are just listening, of course, by all means, continue to just listen, and I'm going to read out different phrases, and you have to choose whether it is make or do, and conjugate it at the same time. If you're watching, it will be much easier for you to respond to the questions and fill in the gaps. So if you do want to get your phone out and start looking at these sentences, you might benefit. It might help you. So the activity is called Make the Choice. Make or do. You need to choose. You need to make up your mind. The first sentence. The washing machine flooded and the water, a lot of damage. Make or do? The washing machine flooded and the water did a lot of damage. Perfect. So do damage. Remember it. Next. She, a lot of lists of things to do, but she never does any of the things. Now the answer. She makes a lot of lists of things to do, but she never does any of the things. Make a list. You make a list if you write a list. The third one. Unfortunately, all the students, very badly on the test. Unfortunately, all the students did very badly on the test. So, you do well or you do badly. I did really well. I did really badly. Excellent. The fourth one. Children, such a mess. I spend my whole life tidying up. And the answer? Children make such a mess. I spend my whole life tidying up. Make a mess. You create this mess. And the fifth one. The car was 90 miles per hour on the motorway when it was stopped by the police. So we're speaking about speed. The answer is the car was doing 90 miles per hour on the motorway when it was stopped by the police. So you can do a speed when you are driving. Do 10 miles an hour, do 20 miles an hour, do 100 miles an hour. Next. John went outside to a phone call. John went outside to make a phone call. Excellent. Let's keep going. Lucy has decided to a course this summer. This autumn, sorry. She's going to study Spanish. Now, this one depends. But let's see. Lucy has decided to do a course this autumn. She's going to study Spanish. And just for your reference, so you know, if you do a course, you are studying it. If you make a course, you are creating it. Hopefully that's clear. Next, my grandmother loves crosswords. My grandmother loves doing or to do crosswords. And the penultimate one, Ben, a good point. He said that it's cheaper to fly in the UK than take a train. It's true. Sad truth. But yeah, if you fly between Edinburgh and London, it's going to be cheaper than getting the train, which is a shame. But hey, the answer is Ben made a good point. He said that it's cheaper to fly in the UK than take the train. And last but not least, if I were to a prediction, I'd say that it'll rain this afternoon. So if I were to make a prediction, I'd say that it'll rain this afternoon. Good job! Well done! If you've made it this far, thank you for paying attention. Even if you've got it on in the background, I appreciate it. I'm just having a little bit of water, rehydrating because, yeah, when I'm using my voice so much, I start to lose it. So I need to keep drinking. But a little trick here. Notice that make a list, make a mess, make a phone call, make a point, make a prediction. All of them are followed by a and a noun. Make a bomb. And this can happen for do as well, but it's less common. Do damage, because damage is uncountable. Do badly. Adverb. Do 90 miles an hour. Do a course. Okay, this one, it applies. But then do crosswords. Yes, we could say do a crossword. But make is almost always followed by a and the noun. Whereas do doesn't usually happen like that. So now, before we finish off, I'm going to read out some other sentences. And I'm not going to repeat it twice. I'm just going to say it once. So, let's see if you can guess if it is make or do at the same time. John worked hard and did his best at his job, but he still wasn't promoted. Teenagers were making such a noise that the neighbor called the police. So do his best, make a noise. She makes or made a payment on her debt every month. Soon she'll have finished paying it off. Here, I think it makes more sense to say makes. But again, make a payment. Next, so many chores to do. I need to clean the bathroom and the kitchen. Do chores. Sorry, I made a mistake. The restaurant isn't here, but on another street. It's late, and we should go home. Let's make a move, which means to go. Let's go. Let's make a move. Unfortunately, his business made a huge loss last year, and had to close down. Again, a little typo. That should be made in the past. If you don't speak English, you'll find it hard to do business in the UK. Final two, he made a promise to his grandmother that he'd never fight anyone ever again. And last but not least, I called the hotel and made a reservation for 2 people for Saturday, the 16th. So, that is an overview, a masterclass of make and do in English. Hopefully, I've made it a little bit clearer and you enjoyed listening to this podcast or watching the podcast and participating at the same time. And let me know what I asked you earlier. Should I convince my mum to make a podcast with me every Wednesday, or should I review the news? Of course, it's not up to me. It's up to her. But if you let me know in the comments and really, really, really urge her to reconsider, she might make up her mind and choose to do it. So thank you so much for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time, and it's always a pleasure, never a chore. Lots of love from Lewis, and see you next time. Bye-bye!